All right, hey everyone. March the 3rd, the year 2017. I wanted to provide an update. We got a letter from the Department of Justice today. I've scanned it and I want to read it to you guys. So this is our efforts to impeach Judge Margaret, worse than rape Catherine Rodgers. So you guys see that hat right there? You guys think that we would be able to wear that hat in Judge Margaret courtroom? If it was up to me, she wouldn't have a courtroom. She'd be in prison along with Michelle Heldemeyer. Of course, I don't think prison is biblical, so we'd have to look up some other whatever the biblical punishment is that fits her crime. So if you steal 9 years from a man's life, the Bible says you got to pay back fourfold. That's 36 years, right? So maybe she should spend 36 years in prison. But anyway, there's lots of evildoers in this picture. I think I've gone through them several times, so I won't waste your time on this video. This is the lady right here, Judge Margaret, worse than rape Catherine Rodgers. We're trying to start the legal proceedings to get her impeached for her participation in the false conviction and false incarceration for 9 years of an innocent man named Ken Hovind. Destroyed his life for 9 years and took all his property. So, here's his website. You can watch the videos yourself. If you want to go through and become aware and educated of what happened to Ken Hovind. Here are the affidavits. I think there's 7 of them. I'll just quickly go through the people. Now, when you think about Judge Margaret, worse than rape Catherine Rodgers, and you say, what's this worse than rape all about? I don't know what you're talking about. There's at least 7 people, and I think there's 8 total, but I've got 7 just right here, that signed an affidavit that said they heard Judge Margaret, worse than rape Catherine Rodgers, call Ken Hovind worse than a rapist. So you've got to ask yourself, did these 8 people come together and lie? And is Ken Hovind lying? And is brother Greg Dixon lying? Because brother Greg Dixon told me on the phone that he heard it with his own ears, and he's sticking to his story until he dies. And I believe him. I believe brother Greg Dixon. He's been a pastor for a long time, has a huge amount of integrity, and I don't think he's lying to me. And he heard her say it. Not only that, you got this affidavit right here signed by Teresa Snyder. This is a notary. She gave a sworn affidavit saying that she heard it. John W. Gusty, he sworn an affidavit saying that he heard it. Kent Andrew Hovind, Kent's son, he heard her say it. You got Katie Rudolph. Now, what's unique about her is that she was actually raped. She actually knows what it's like to be raped. And she heard the judge say in courtroom that Ken Hovind was worse than a rapist. You got Joe Hovind, Kent's ex-wife, and even though she divorced him, she signed an affidavit that said what you have done is worse than rape. You got brother Greg Dixon. He told me on the phone and let me record it, and I believe him. You got Ken Hovind himself, and here's our petition to impeach and prosecute Judge Margaret Casey Rodgers. I think it was started by Reverend Edward, and it's got 14 people that signed the petition. Now, many of you think, well, that's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. But it's the truth, and if 14 people want to sign the petition, then I pray that God rewards those 14 people with blessings from heaven unspeakable. And they walk around with blessings and joy unspeakable for taking the time to sign this petition to impeach Judge Margaret, worse than rape Catherine Rodgers. So here's the letter I got in the P.O. Box today. As you can see, it's from the Department of Justice, Office of the Inspector General, Investigations Division. It's from some address in Washington, D.C. It's dated February the 28th. It's sent to my P.O. Box. Mr. Davis, dear Mr. Davis, the purpose of this letter is to acknowledge receipt of your recent correspondence. The matters that you raised are more appropriate for review by another office or agency. Therefore, your complaint has been forwarded to the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Professional Responsibility. Matter of fact, I have a lot of dealings with them. I'm very familiar with them. Not that they've dealt with me individually, but I've read quite a bit about them. in that they were involved in the Polar Pen team. They were involved in the cover-up on what the Department of Justice did to Senator Ted Stevens, what they've done to Schaefer Cox, and now they're sending my complaint about Judge Margaret worse than raped Catherine Rodgers. They're sending my complaint to the same office that covered up for Senator Ted Stevens and Schaefer Cox. Books have been written about how corrupt the Office of Professional Responsibility is. Matter of fact, it appears to me that they are the sinkhole for corruption within the Department of Justice. So they also sent it to the U.S. Department of Justice Executive Office for United States Attorneys, whatever that is. It says any further correspondence regarding this matter should be directed to those offices. I hope this answers any questions you may have relative to this matter. Sincerely, and then nobody even bothers to sign it. Office of the Inspector General, Investigations Division. But you notice that nobody with the Department of Justice will put their John Hancock on the letter. They sent me a letter that's unsigned. And so that's how they roll. They have no integrity. I have no confidence whatsoever in our judicial and legal systems, our Department of Justice, FBI, IRS, Customs and Border Patrol, Immigration's Customs Enforcement, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. I think our entire government is rotten to the core. And that doesn't mean that we don't keep trying. Even though the ocean comes in and washes away your sandcastle, you keep building it anyway, and you be faithful unto death. God bless every one of you. Take care.